Okay. Welcome. This is, I believe, episode 9 of Top Corner Talk. Okay, we got a lot of things to talk about. First of all, some new faces here. Of course, you've seen Jeremy before. You've seen me before. But of course, we have the soccer zombie himself here as another guest. We'll have Mo popping in and out, and we'll have Oscar coming at about 9. This will be a great episode, y'all. We're talking about the bad loss in Kansas City, some rumors of Kevin De Bruyne, a lot of good things talking about everything MLS and national soccer. Make sure you guys follow all these guys on, I believe, uh, Tom, what's your main posting area?
Oh, I am rocking the YouTube. Just search for Soccer Zombie on YouTube. You'll find me there, and I am doing my primary social business on Blue Sky.
All right. Yeah, and then everyone knows Jeremy, you're on Blue Sky and X, right?
Blue Sky and X, also share stuff on Facebook, but yeah, primarily Blue Sky and X is where you'll find me and my rants and ravings and useless statistics, right?
Yeah, and then I'll be on mostly just X right now, hopefully to expand soon. Yeah, I mean, let's kick it right off. Kansas City, the biggest rival of our amazing club that we love right here, St. Louis City SC, beats St. Louis 2-0 in Kansas City or in Energizer Park West. In a tough loss for the squad. Just first impressions, what do you guys think about the game and the outcome?
There were positives. There was, of course, Conrad Vollum. He found all sorts of space in this game, to be fair, and he is centimeters away from, having the game go 1-0. We all in the corner thought that he had scored, and so awkward when they kept playing and we were celebrating. But in the end, it is beyond disappointing to drop not even a draw, just lose to your hated rival in Kansas, give them their first win since the Dead Sea was still alive, and just do it in a way where you never felt that it was just going to happen for you. It's just, at least with Bradley Carnell ball, you felt like, the city had a puncher's chance, when they were having those wild 3-3 knockout dragouts, on the road. Now we're just getting knocked out and just, dragged out by, our feet, back to Missouri. I mean, just for me, unacceptable.
Yeah. Jeremy?
Well, not to be over dramatic, dressing in black because it's a little bit of a funeral right now for the mood set for City.
I thought you were just modeling a new goalkeeper kit.
Trust me, they don't want me to model anything. I don't have the body for that. But in any event, but in
as
any
I wear
event,
my own kit to shamelessly plug, but continue.
Actually, Tom, that was actually the good news. I came back and mine had been delivered, so mine's hanging in the closet. So. In any event, though, back to the terrible weekend in Kansas City. Aside from the tasteless barbecue, and that's actually not a joke. That we had some Gates. Oh, do not go to Gates Barbecue. Anyway, as far as the game goes, wasn't much better. I mean, yeah, there were some bright spots, but when I said going into this game, if there was ever a game that was going to end Klaus's drought, I mean, this team, Kansas, had allowed 12 goals, the most in MLS coming into the match. If there was ever a time that he was going to score, it was time. And it didn't happen. And he didn't even come close. Vollum's chance was the closest we came to a goal, hitting the woodwork in like the 17th, 18th minute of the game. And that was really it. A lot of head scratching things that left my brain wondering what's going on. My trust in Olaf is really waning at this point. We go out winter transfer window. We don't need to do anything. We hype up. We got this former Bundesliga center back in Timo Baumgartel. Don't even bring him in when Nilsson goes down. I don't understand that. I don't know what Baumgartel has to do to get an ounce of playing time with the first team. Instead, we'd rather bring in or move personnel around and ruin any kind of semblance of what seemed like early momentum we had. And we didn't threaten at all. And then Kansas City, they can say we dominated up until the goal. I'm sorry, we didn't. In my opinion, it was just a terribly ugly game of football.
And the ironic
What's up,
thing about those shifts, Jeremy, is the fact that we did see Cal Hebert go back to his natural center back position. And unfortunately, he was a natural disaster at center back against Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rough positioning match, and you had that Vollum chance, and one thing that stood out to me was the Akil Watts chance. Balls bouncing at his feet. It's a tough one to net. Live, I thought that what's happening. This looks like a 6U soccer game that I played in 2015. But upon watching the replay, it's tough. It's at Akil's feet, almost at his heel. Really hard to bang that one home. I mean, just overall, you hate to see the squad put up almost what a lot of fans are seeing as a lack of fight, until the final whistle sounded and Cedric Toyshirt ran over to the little scuffle that happened after. I mean, it's a little tough. It's a little discouraging to see this team have more fight at the end of the game rather than start against your rival. The fans, everyone that traveled, amazing. I could hear you guys on the stream the whole time. It was great. I could not hear any City Park West supporters from that horrible baby blue color talking at all. It sounded silent when those chants stopped, and it's discouraging to the to the fans that traveled and the fans that watch at home to see these kind of games come out in a loss. It's tough. It's definitely tough. And looking forward, you have to make some changes, I think. One guy who I think was instrumental to some of the chances, Conrad Vollum played amazing. Celia Pompeu, in my mind, played pretty good too. Coming out in, I believe, the 65th or 67th minute, around there. I mean, definitely not at peak fitness yet because he's not playing a full 90. But it's tough. It's really tough. I mean, like Jeremy said, you got to see. I mean, Timo Baumgartel had the most touches in that City 2 game he played in. And you call up Emil Jääskeläinen and not Timo. This doesn't make sense to me. You have attacking players on your team that you can sub in. Tomas Ostrak, I love the sub. I don't love the sub at that time. I'd love to see Tomas Ostrak start. I'd love to see him not come in and shift Kyle Hebert back to a center back position.
You hit on Emil Jääskeläinen, and remember, with the rules in MLS with the short-term loans, you only get 4 per year, and you only get 2 times to play them. Jääskeläinen's already been up twice, has played 0. So now you're already backed up in a corner in terms of how you can use him. And if a game ever called for Emil Jääskeläinen, this was it right here, because you want a big body, up front. You want him in that spot instead of Akil Watts, who, God forbid, the poor guy, nice guy, I'm sure he is, but he's a USL championship player. He is definitely not the tip of the spear that you want trying to tie the game up. He's not the guy you want trying to feed through balls through, when the going gets tough. I mean, Olaf had the temerity to put Timo Baumgartel in as a striker, against Austin because he needed a big guy. You have a big guy on your bench that is an actual striker, and you don't play him? And you only make 3 subs out of a total of potentially 5 that you could have made, and one of them was because of injury. Jeremy, this to me just feels like Olaf has as bad of a problem as Bradley Carnell, if not worse, at pivoting and making adjustments.
Well, wait, hold on. Whoa, wait, time, pause. Isn't that what they said he was good at when they hired this man? He was supposed to be that was the whole thing of Carnell. He wouldn't shift. He was a plan A guy, never a plan B. But remember, Olaf came with a plan B, C, and D, apparently. When the hell do we see that? When? I'm sorry, throwing Baumgartel as a striker doesn't qualify as plan B, C, D, F, whatever alphabet letter you want to throw. Just throw that in the trash. That should never be our plan. I've seen enough of that in other leagues around the world, and it doesn't work. I want to give you guys a stat, and I also want to give you a quote. So, Charlie, I'm going to come back to you first. You mentioned the team wanting to be up for it, right? Not having the team up for this fight, right? So, Lutz Pfannenstiel every weekend, Sports on a Sunday, with Tom Ackerman on KMOX. He was on this weekend. He said, quote, "I think we created enough chances to win the game, but Kansas is one of the worst teams in the league. I think going into a derby game, you need to be a little bit tougher when it comes to the mindset. You need to work a little bit harder to get out there and take on the fight. It was definitely very disappointing. Well, I grabbed my stat talking about sides of play and specific Tom's point about Akil. Your thoughts on Lutz's comments?
I mean, it's nice of him to say after the fact. I mean, I know part of Lutz's, side hustle is observing Bundesliga matches and commentating on them, and he's a fine commentator. Don't get me wrong. And I do have to give him some dap for at least coming out and saying that and apologizing, for the performance. I mean, it does show that he does have some awareness of what is going on, which is fine and dandy. But the bottom line is, it doesn't result in W's. It doesn't even result in a draw. It doesn't even result in a point. I hope that what he is saying about, needing to, take a different direction is actually not just lip service, and that it actually does happen. Because remember, under this system that Lutz has, we are like the German system where the sporting director is the boss, and the head coach is there to carry out the vision of the boss. So,
speaking of, just real quick, Tom. Speaking of the boss, we got one guy coming in. It's Oscar. He's here. How's it going, Oscar? Just continue your point real quick, Tom. To finish up real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So just real quick. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how we come out against Columbus, and just to see exactly what influence that Lutz does have on Olaf and Olaf's supposed ability to pivot.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, to take a look at St. Louis sports as a whole, I got the Blues game going right here on my phone next to this. It's a 1-1 tie with Winnipeg. I mean, with the Cardinals, you see some of the same problems. I love this transparency from Lutz, saying that it was not good enough, not saying that, we had enough chances and we should have won. Because, I mean, what you see from the Cardinals and the lack of attendance from the Cardinals, the fans have made it clear they want more spending. And all you're seeing from John Mozeliak is that if every player has a career year, we might sneak into the playoffs. It's the lack of transparency from St. Louis sports that really discourages people. And the Blues are so successful and so renowned because Doug Armstrong will talk to the press and be like, we didn't play good enough. Or Jim Montgomery will be like, I think this player played really bad, rather than just being like, I think it was okay. We had enough chances. We just didn't capitalize. Sometimes you need to lay the hammer down and break it and hurt a couple feelings to get a point across.
Well, so I'm sorry, Oscar, go ahead and jump in.
No, I think it makes me laugh a little bit. Like when you're saying like, hey, Lutz recognizes that it's not good enough, but how many times he has told us that? How many times in these three years he has gone and say like, oh, we haven't done good enough. Like, so when this is gonna stop? When the excuses and saying like, oh yeah, we gotta do better, we gotta be a better cohesive team, or yes, we play well, but we needed to put the goals in. Like, how many times have I heard that story? It has come from Cornell. Continuously has come from hard work, Lutz, and now the same thing with Olaf. He's doing the same thing. Like, he's just telling us he's playing very well. He's playing very well, but at the same time, they're not putting the goals in. I don't care if you play well or not. I want wins.
Right. It's a results-driven business. So to your Tom, you were talking about Keel before Oscar joined us. Real quickly, just talking about how one-dimensional this team has been with Akil on the right, or really anybody other than Thomas Totland. MLS stat, if you don't follow them on Blue Sky, it's a tremendous account. They do great work in data visualization. For City against Sporting on the weekend, 20% of our passes in the final third were on the right, compared to 74% on the left, where Celio and Volum were at. Just 6% in the middle. That middle part of the pitch is just it's just the dead zone for us. When you talk about passes into the box, it's even worse. 88% on the left, just 12% on the right, 0% in the middle. So I don't know how Olaf's vision of unpredictability comes to fruition when it's that blatantly obvious what we're trying to do.
And also, Chat City Tactics had a summary of the game. And of course, if you're not subscribing to his Substack, what are you doing with your life? Check it out. He knows way more about analytics than I do. I'm not even going to pretend like I know as much as he does. But he pointed out that in saying that Akil Watts and Kyle Heber are likely the worst wingback duo we'll see in MLS in 2025, he noted that Akil Watts recorded a minus 0.44 dribbling G+. It is the third worst individual G+ statistic a City player has recorded in the last 2 seasons, and he had 13 yards in carrying distance, the lowest on the team. He also had a 58% passing rate, 1 out of 7 in duels, and this is from someone in Olaf's system that you are wanting to carry the buckets of water up and down the field per se, because Lord knows, Olaf loves, feeding to his wingbacks and making his center mids completely disappear in our attack. And this we lost 2-0, and when you look at stats like this and you look at Akil Watts, it's poor dribbling, poor ball handling, poor passing, poor case closed.
And
he's got to have the and he had like arguably the second best goal chance of the night, because somehow, some way, he's on the back post. A beautiful ball from Volum gets all the way through. Your strikers can't find it. The guys you want on the end, maybe, if you're not Klaus, I don't know. But anyway, they can't get onto it, and it goes all the way to Akil Watts. As Tom, you put this in your player rankings video. Why is he the hero? How? Why?
Why is he put in that position? Exactly. I want to talk about Kayla's comment below here. Olaf called out spending as a problem too. This is another one of those Olaf coming as advertised kind of a things, because when he was at Brahmapoikarna in Sweden, they had some of the lowest spending in the entire Allsvenskan, and he was able to make the most out of little spending. That was supposed to be one of the selling points of Olaf Mellberg, and now he's barely a month into his job in St. Louis, and he's already bitching about the spending on his new club, this new Cadillac club, when he's coming out of a Ford Pinto in Sweden, and he's already saying we're not spending enough.
Well,
let's what you do.
So I mean, Tom, I would say, like, okay, I see your point of view where you're saying like he's contradicting himself, but at the same time, like, he's come from a league that he was not very competitive. He had a team that he had probably a good academy, probably good sorts of like getting those good players. I mean, Europeans, they do build and they do produce a lot of players that they are high quality for those type of leagues. Let's not say that they're for good players for the top leagues, but they're good for those type of leagues. So he was doing a decent job there, but he came and he realized here that that doesn't work. And somebody didn't tell him, somebody didn't inform him well, he didn't do his research right. But here you got to spend. Here you got to get better players to be competitive. And to that, I would say, like, I would like to introduce a little bit of one of my hot takes for today, and is that we have a big problem the way that we build our team. And it's not because we bring players or not, or we're spending or not. It's because the franchise decided to give too much power to one man, and that man's Lutz, and he builds the team whatever he wants to bring and whatever he thinks he likes. But then this is the only case I've seen that a sporting director builds the team without asking a coach, what players do you want? So we have brought players to adjust to a system that Lutz wants to play, and then you bring a coach like Olaf that is completely different. Is a coach that plays defense. He doesn't do the high press. He doesn't have the German style to play. And now we have players that do not accommodate and somehow to his system. So every single player in our squad is playing out of position.
Yeah. I mean, one thing you're also seeing, you had the money from the Indiana Vasilev trade. You got over $1 million in general allocation money. What is happening with that?
Chest.
Where is the spending of that money? You're starting Alfredo Morales, who was jobless 3 months ago, and you're not spending the general allocation money? Like, we got to do something here.
Don't forget the 50 million or the 50,000. I know it's a drop, but we got that from DC for Kojima or from San Diego because of the Kojima loss. I mean that's there
drop in
too.
the bucket compared to what San Diego get. We're not going to talk. We're not here to talk about the past though.
But hey,
we are kind of, because Alfredo Morales, I ranted about him a little bit, and it's nothing against him personally. Like, you know, again, he's got pedigree. He's been around the block a long time. But the fact that it's one thing to sign him in the preseason after he impresses as a trialist, and then you bring him in to be a depth guy, you know, to come in here and there, you know, maybe be like a Timo Baumgartner who's just getting splinters by sitting his ass on the bench the whole time. But the fact is, Alfredo Morales is been a key contributor this year, for better or worse, mostly worse. And the guy was jobless 6 weeks ago. I get that Durkin has had knee issues, but you knew that at the end of last season. I get that JGR went off and got his green card, and he's still, you know, not fully, you know, match fit, I guess. But you knew that was going to happen. You knew when you lost Kojima that was one less body that you had in the midfield, and you did nothing, and proudly stated you did nothing during the winter. I remember Lutz at least one point bragging about, oh, you know, our transfer system is done. We did most of our business in the summer, and he was almost very proud of the fact that we didn't do anything over the winter. And look at us now. We got Alfredo Morales, you know, who is literally on his last leg. Literally, he has a history of leg issues. We're relying on for big time minutes, and what are we doing?
All right. Hey, real quick, I want to ask you guys another question related to Lutz's lip service from when the Olaf hire occurred, right? So one of the other big things Olaf said, or Lutz said, was touting Olaf's idea of developing youth players, letting them play, letting them grow. Yes, Galinen has been up, not played a drop. By the way, you know who also hasn't played and would not have required another short-term loan? Caden Glover. Where is Caden Glover? I don't understand. I mean, maybe he's not ready. Maybe he's not rated by the manager. But if you're going to be bringing in this guy who is touted as, I develop youth, I develop players through letting them play. Great. And again, I understand maybe the game state dictates it. Okay. I maybe it's take a step back for a second, but I'm just starting to really put this together as nothing but Lutz's lip service. That's his side hustle, Tom.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you would also not need any sort of loan or anything like that if you wanted to bring up Mekhi Joyner, who has a big boy contract, or even a Tyson Pierce who can play, or
Brendan McSorley.
But then again, we already have a problem with Olaf not playing a certain right back on the roster. You know, that's also a youngster and on the first team contract, Joey Zielinski,
who'd be in position, by the way, and was picked in the super draft as a depth right back.
Oscar, what do you think?
I'd rather.
So, I mean, it definitely hits the blanks where Lutz, it takes care of the team, takes care of the squad. All the mistakes that he has made from the get-go, year one with Pedro, year two with Dwyer, whatever it was, that left back that was play one game and went back. And then it goes now that I keep going to the point that you are bringing players without consulting the person who's going to coach them.
Yeah.
That is going to set up the system. So now, I want to defend Alfredo because he's doing a great job, in my opinion. He's doing great things for the system and whoever is around him. He is the one that is actually making a balance in the midfield. He's a work engine. He's not a superstar. So you're not going to expect him to be overall the greatest on the midfield. He's just a work engine. And I think he's doing right. But he doesn't have the support. He passes the ball, and then we lost the ball because Watts cannot connect a pass. In some points, Durkin cannot connect a pass. Lewin was playing awfully bad. And now we have Hartel that is pulling it back down. So it's too much of a pressure, too much of a defensive position that even if we tried to make two passes to the front, we got 60 yards to run ahead, and we cannot connect that extra pass. So you just not putting enough support for a player that is doing a decent job, in my opinion, on Alfredo.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's fair.
To Ryan's point, Morales is hustling. I mean, he may be on his last leg, like on his career, but like at least he's, it's not a question of effort with Morales, just as it's not a question of effort for Akil Watts. It's a question of effectiveness. And I will say that, Morales didn't irritate me nearly as much as Watts did. I mean, the problem is in this system, it just feels like our 8s and our 6s tend to get just kind of lost.
So
well, you gotta think like, sorry, Jeremy, like you gotta think that he's a 6, and the 6 are built. I play 6 all my life, so I know what I had. So the 6 are built to destroy the play and to give the ball back to your teammates, and that's it. That's your role. That's your role, and he's doing it. He's disrupting plays. He's creating bad positionings, bad passing, so the team can recover the ball. But then after that, we can't expect him to start building up the playmaking. That's why we're supposed to have a Lewin. We're supposed to have a Hartel, Wolem, Celio, but the ball never reaches those players.
No, and that is a problem. I agree.
Yeah.
Because we also have a Watts, a Hebert, and even including Jaro, that he did perform well on the defensive side, but we know they all struggle to connect passes going forward. They can pass sideways perfectly, but the moment you ask them to break lines and go forward, we lost the ball.
I mean, what you're looking at, with Alfredo Morales, he had an expected assists, an XA of 0.32. So what you're asking for from that kind of work engine, that kind of gritty player that's not going to go out there and be, your superstar, I think that's a solid performance. When you look at his FOTMOB rating at a 7.0, you look at Akil Watts' FOTMOB rating was a 5.8, which is just tough. And to go off another point with the missing of Hartel and Leuven especially, when you see Leuven taking personal time with this, with the circumstances that happened last year, I'm not going to speculate anything, but I mean, it's just you gotta hope everything is okay with him, and that's something that may be bigger than soccer. And I think it's one of those things where it's next man up. You have a guy that's out, you got to step up, and if you don't step up, you're not going to be one of those teams that's going to be succeeding come November.
Definitely. And, and Leuven, when he is on, he can be that connector in the midfield, that metronome. And this season he hadn't been. And, hopefully his issues weren't because of what's going on off field with him. Of course, we hope everything's okay with him and his wife and his family and all that. I mean, obviously, Godspeed, literally. But Kayla brought up Klaus in the comments. And it's something where Klaus had an issue last year, and it's carrying over to this year when he is on the field, where he will go deep, backwards to try to link up the play, to try to connect the play. And he's being put in that situation again where it feels like he has to do more than, his main job, and that is being as a striker. He has to backtrack a little bit, almost be like an 8, himself, almost a box-to-box striker, which is just, ludicrous to think about. And it's kind of making me wonder, guys. And, I'm going to give this one to Oscar because I have a feeling that he's got Super Santos mask ready to go. He's ready to jump off the top rope about Joao Klaus. But is it time to we've been trying so many players at the underneath as the 10, is it time that we just move Klaus off a striker, period? If he wants to be this connector so much, why do we even have him as a striker? What is the purpose? It seems like a waste of a position.
So I think like a lot of people overthink what Klaus is. I'll relate to year one. Yes, he started hot. But how did he start it hot? By mistakes by the rivals, by the mistakes created by the high pressure. And he only had to go 20 yards on a one-on-one situation to finish. He can do that. But the moment that our team started backing down and that high press didn't work, and there are connecting passes needed an extra guy to actually have the ability to push up on transition, he had to do that. He had to move back and hold double. And for my point on that perspective is that I don't think Klaus was ever a goal scoring number 9 box forward. I don't think he has never been. He likes to pull back. He likes to engage in the game to create spaces for others. The good part of our last season, last year, where he was not playing as much, but we were having good success in scoring goals with Teucher, Hartel, and Betcher, is because that that transition play, there were spaces behind the defense because the movement of those three. Now we're asking Klaus again to go up high and hold the ball there, but don't move. He's not that player.
No, he's not.
He's not that player.
No.
And when we don't have our midfield connecting passes, he gets frustrated. He tries to engage on the game, trying to help. And people are like, "Oh, why you're moving out of position? Or why are you trying this so much?" Well, like, because nobody's bringing the ball up.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
I mean, Hartle had to drop how far, how often, how deep was he playing? And that's not where you want him on the pitch at all. But I'm going to go back, guys. How much of this goes back, and this is not a slight on Morales, because I agree with you, Oscar. He's doing the job he was brought in to do as a depth rotation 6. That's what he was brought in to do. He's now being asked to do more than that or balance Ostrak, and but it's a system failure because we don't have a midfield. The midfield doesn't exist. Hartle has to come back. Ostrak and Morales or Leuven or whoever, they're not going to make those runs because that's not what the system is calling for. So now Klaus by proxy has to come back. Josh Yarrow even said it post game. We defend as a team. That's what this team is meant to do. That's what's built into the DNA of this team is everybody defends and then everybody transitions and everybody attacks. And it's just it kills us because we don't have any transition game unless we're playing hoofball and praying somebody runs onto the end of a long ball or something. It's terrible.
I mean, with the strategy you're going with sitting back, having a 5-4-1, you got to assume they're going to be a counter-attacking team, but you've seen a lack of a counter-attack. When you're asking to be a counter-attacking team and you have a lack of transition game, that's like asking to be a football player when you're 3'2". All right, it's not going to happen. Okay, and when I say football, I mean American football. Like asking to be a lineman when you're 140 pounds, it's not gonna work out. So I mean, it is a failure systematically. Like Jeremy said, and it's not saying that it can't be fixed. It can be fixed very easily. Mm-hmm. It can be fixed extremely easily by saying, maybe this isn't working. You look at the past 3 games. You look at your first 7, you've scored 2 goals. You look at maybe we need more offensive production. Maybe we put more than 1 at the striker. Maybe we start Timo Baumgartel. Maybe we start Celio for more than 60 minutes, and maybe we get Jay Reed back and get that left side going like it was late last season.
I mean, do you make an argument that the problem is we just couldn't hold the ball or couldn't win any duels? I mean, if you look at Klaus, Watts, and Betcher, they were a combined 3 for 27 in duels. Klaus 3 for 12 in ground duels. Watts and Betcher both 0 for 5. And Klaus, his dribbles, he was just 1 for 5 in dribbles. So I mean, there's no possession retention.
Yeah, but so the thing is, you expect Klaus to take on 4 defenders to dribble?
He's not going. It doesn't work. No support
because that's what it was happening. I was literally watching the game when Klaus is trying to relieve pressure. And the moment he takes a touch, there was 3 people on him.
Yeah.
And no support. And then everybody goes and says, "Oh, Klaus is having a terrible game." Yeah, it's
by design.
Look, it sucks because he's put in a position where 90% of those duels he's gonna lose them because he does not support. He doesn't have the support.
He's left out there to twist in the wind by himself.
Everybody's too far behind, holding that
slow block that is so low you can't get upfield.
Correct. Yeah. And then, like, when we can actually find something like Celio that pulls an amazing run, he had to run about 60 yards with that ball because there was nothing else to do.
Yeah, everybody's isolated when they try to transition up the field. It's been 406 minutes
because our block is too low.
Yep.
our block is too low. There's no transitioning. Our wing backs are not really wing backs because the only one that we had as a wing back was Totland, and obviously is hurt. The other ones that could do the job, they're still hurt too. We mentioned Reed. We mentioned, now Giannis Horn, but Giannis Horn is not really like an offensive wing back. So we have a design of a system where you expect your wing backs to go back and forth, but we don't even have the time to send them up because the moment we send them up, we already lost the ball.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
Jeremy, you talked about the lack of retaining possession. I 100% disagree. They're great at retaining possession sideways and backwards. With those passes going, saying, no, you have the ball. No, please. It's like holding a door for someone and saying, you go ahead. No, you go ahead. It's like, no, I don't want the ball. You take it. No, you take it. No, you take it. And we're not going anywhere with it. The possession in their own half is way too much. The low block is almost in the 18-yard box. I mean, this is outrageous stuff that you're talking about. No other team is trying these strategies because they don't work.
No, 406 minutes since our last goal from open play. I went and did the math before the show because I was curious, and that's including all the stoppage time that we've had.
That's our
in all
only
of those
goal in
matches.
open play, right?
It was the last Betcher goal in LA. So we've scored 3. We had the 3 in LA, and then the goal from the set piece with Leuven in Seattle or against Seattle. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Yep. It's just abysmal. That's a stat that's ugly, and I don't like it. And to your point about retention of possession, I was looking at who scored. .com. They have a graphic on their website that talks about what City does with possession and how we've held the ball. 44% of the time we have the ball, it's in the midfield of the middle of the pitch. Back. 33% in the back and only 20% in the front attacking third. So yeah, it's useless position or possession.
So I was in FOTMob yesterday, and I just pull it again, and this called my attention a lot. Well, first of all, we haven't said enough that we gave the ball to the worst team on the league. Mm-hmm. So that's a no-go from the start. You gave life to a team that it was the worst one.
212 days since our last win.
Second of all, so they did more passes than us. They had more accurate passes than us. But, hey, we had more passes in our own half than them.
Yeah. That wins you championships.
So 247, 88% of the passes.
I mean, literally to Charlie's point.
So it's just ridiculous. So yeah, we can throw the ball side by side and just keep on those moments. But the moments that we want to break lines, we're afraid. Or I think I mentioned it last week where I don't know if it's the system, it's the mentality of Olaf that is telling them if it's not a certain pass, do not pass it forward. Mm-hmm. Always look back. I don't know if that's that mentality. I have had coaches. I know coaches that they have involved that culture of don't raise the ball, don't try to create the crazy pass, just keep it safe. So you see Watts, and the moment that Watts takes the ball, the first thing that he does is not looking forward. The first thing that he does is know who he has behind to give that ball safe.
I think Oscar, you kind of hit it on the head there, with it being a mentality thing, because there have been times when I've watched this club this year, and it feels like that Olaf he's the new teacher, and he's teaching defensive 101. And right now we're acing that exam right now. We have absolutely aced the course, and now we need to move on to 201, which is offense, and we have not moved on. It feels like we are still stuck in this instructional mode of, focus on defense first, simple passes, side to side, backwards, and we have not clearly. It just feels like that we have the foundation on defense, but we have not sprung from that foundation yet. And it just feels like we're stuck in that first gear. And I don't know what it's going to take to get us out, Jeremy.
But did we really ace the defense side?
I mean, we did give up 2 goals, but for the most part, it's been shutout City.
One goal in garbage time.
But what? So analyze the shutouts, because I think everybody's being fooled a lot of the 3 shutouts or the 4 shutouts, whatever we had on a row, I think everybody was being fooled by how they came because we were not acing the defensive side.
So you don't think you don't think we absolutely stuffed San Diego, for instance, because that was San Diego trying and trying and trying. We wouldn't let them get through. I thought that was a very impressive defensive effort by us.
I think that was a cluster.
Look at what San Diego's doing to the rest of the league right now.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, first of all, San Diego's first home game.
Yeah.
Think of have the perspective of the pressure, the anxiety, the excitement, all combined for San Diego.
How did our first home game go?
Our first game?
Yeah, Charlotte.
We didn't do. Yeah, I mean, we didn't do anything. Oh, like our first, like our year, our first.
Yeah.
Home inaugural. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do understand that. I mean, San Diego maybe was a very strong performance, but it was more like a defensive last minute blocked balls, like because everything was just bouncing right in front of the goal. Like it was not like they were not creating options. It was that they had control. They were putting a lot of pressure, and Kessler and Heaver in that game block every single thing. But that's not having control. That's not being a defensive solid. That's just praying that when the shot is taken, there is a body in front that can bounce that ball.
It's parked the bus.
Same thing that like Austin did it to us. Kansas City just did it to us because they didn't give up any those little spaces. They were having two people throwing themselves, trying to block that. That's not good defensive, in my opinion. And then if you go back to, don't fool yourself with the first game against Colorado because Colorado didn't try to attack. And don't fool yourself with LA Galaxy shutout because if it wasn't for Berkey, we would have lost that game 3-0.
And those were two teams coming off CONCACAF matches, so they were gassed.
Right.
Yeah.
But still, like, we gave LA Galaxy everything to win that game, except that Berkey said no.
Yeah, that was a Berkey game.
So that's 2 or 3 performances that we had shutouts, but it wasn't a solid defensive. And then you go and you start seeing the games that we have lost. Philadelphia, bad mistake on set pieces, and they were not solid at all in the first 10 minutes of the game. They killed us on every cross. They killed us on every long throw in. There were spaces everywhere. That they didn't have the quality to put more goals. They didn't have the quality. If they had the entire team that day, I think they would have destroyed us. And that just keep going. So like if you keep going in every single game, the performances, they have been making mistakes. The goal against Austin is a tactical mistake. Yes, Nielsen got beat up, but what happened when he got beat up? He didn't get support. He didn't get the support he was supposed to. The coverage just wasn't there. And what happened to Kansas City? Same thing. One little piece got out of line, we got destroyed.
Yeah, well, I mean,
are we solid? Are we solid defensively?
We're playing a dangerous game of bend, don't break. That's what we've been doing in all of our matches, and we've praised the defense for that not breaking point. We've had a couple games where Berkey's made a difference. There was one game I think where
amazing.
Kessler's been a rock. Okay, I can't fault Kessler. Hebert was at fault. He pulled himself out of position. I don't really know where he was going in Kansas City. He was trying to come home early, I guess. I don't know. But bottom. I mean, I don't blame him. But anyway,
I did.
Well, yeah. But I'm not ready to say our defense isn't solid. Is it great? Is it elite? Not quite sure it's at that level, but I'm not mad at our defense because you can point to almost every goal coming on an individual error. But I do want to say one thing because you mentioned spaces, and I saw Jerry Hayes in the chat mention spaces as well. I asked Olaf after this match because, and maybe, Oscar and Tom, you were both there. Charlie, I hope you were watching on TV because I don't think you made the trip to Kansas City. But I mean, I counted on my hand at least 3, 4, 5 times where we had guys in the same spaces. There was at least once in the second half where Hartle combined with Klaus and literally ran into him in the box to kill it. It was just ridiculous. There were times where I think it was Pompeo and Volum were both making similar runs. We've seen it at Energizer Park as well. And I straight up asked him, Olaf, what is going on with spacing? Is that an issue? No, that's not the problem. When it kills an attack in the box, how the hell is it not a problem?
And then it goes back to tactics.
Am I wrong?
It goes back to tactics. What are these players supposed to do? What is their assignment? Because it is clear if they're running into each other, and as Jerry said in the chat, like 3 toddlers fighting over a toy. I mean, clearly, then these players do not understand their assignment.
Well, that's what it was when Watts, Klaus, and Betcher were all standing there staring at the ball inside the 6-yard box and let Pulskamp just fall on it.
Yeah.
So just by the way, there's a lack. Obviously, they're not working in the offensive side. They say they're working. They tell us every press conference that yes, that was the main purpose of this week, that they were gonna know how to treat the ball better and to keep it have better positions. But it's either, like we have seen, it's either one game is 20 to 40 crosses that they all go to the opposite side, or is what happened to Kansas City that with Kansas City that you're running into the same spots. You are not timing the runs correctly, not timing the passes correctly, because they're not connecting. They're so focused on defense and being so solid in defense that timing on the offensive side is not there. There was 3 plays that they were exactly the same. Ball goes wide to Wallem. If Wallem makes a one-touch pass to Betcher, he's onside and in a great position. But Wallem took time and time and time. One, he didn't pass it. The second one, he passed it. Betcher was offside. The third one, finally, he passed it, and Betcher was in a good position. But he got blocked and had to turn around, and I believe that's where the Hartel Klaus play, where they were just trying to scrap everything. It was a scrap, or like a lot of passion, a lot of like, we have to go and do something, but I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah. Everyone wants to be the hero.
Yeah, and just for the record update, St. Louis Blues winning streak came to an end today in Winnipeg. They lose 3-1. So St. Louis sports recently, of course, you have the amazing 12-game winning streak, the franchise record, but you have a negative with the Blues. The Cardinals got walloped today.
Battlehawks won yesterday.
Pardon me?
Battlehawks won yesterday.
Battlehawks did win yesterday. That's true. But cause law. But also,
I mean, it's okay. The Blues can lose this and go back into a high point for the playoff. That's always good to lose the streak.
The Cardinals just lost 18-7 to the Red Sox in Fenway the other day. It was outrageous. But St. Louis sports, it's been tough. It's been tough recently, and fans have voiced their concerns. We've voiced our concerns. I think the only sport that St. Louis fans are happy about right now, the only two, it would be American football and hockey. Soccer is not one of the ones that I think they're happy about. Based on our mood, I think we're a good encapsulation of a lot of the fans right now. The passion, because again, I said this last episode, we're not hating because we hate St. Louis City. We're not hating because we want these people to be out of a job. We're hating. We're upset because we like this team and we love this team so much. Then that we want to see them to succeed so much that you have to be critical of the people that are running it, and that's exactly what our job as fans and as media members is to do.
We are the angry dad, and our child is acting out and misbehaving, and we're just very disappointed right now.
So
not mad, just disappointed.
You said it's hard. It's and it's only probably going to get harder the next 2 games against the conference leaders in Columbus and Vancouver. Lute's even talking about how we need to work hard this week. Sunday on KMOX, basically saying, "quote We play against 2 of the best teams in the country in the next 2 weeks. If you play like that, meaning how they played in Kansas, I'm not really positive. We need to change our mindset. We need to change our aggression. and we need to be up for it. Otherwise, they will beat us. So,
okay.
Oof.
So let me ask you this. He comes and says that, but then your coach, when the game finished, said, "Oh, we did a great job. We deserved better, and we should have played better. Well, we should have won the game, or we should have scored goals." What's the message? Because
you're getting the. Well, Oscar, I'll tell you this: you're getting the after game message is always going to be a dumbed down media response, trained response. The Sunday after message might be a little bit more critical, especially if you're coming from Lutz or Ethan Carolyn, right? After the press conference after the game, coaches are never going to say they played horrible. We
Why
suck.
not?
This is a bad team. It's stupid. I don't know either. I don't know.
I'd argue. Hang on.
Why do you no? So sorry, Jeremy, but why not?
No, you're fine.
And this is where I get to the point where why a coach repeatedly has to tell me that they did good when I'm just hurt. I just left the game pissed off.
Yeah.
Because we didn't do good enough. Because we all know we didn't do good enough. We were playing our rivals. We were playing our rivals in their home when we all travel, when we're all facing all this not such a nice fans, because they are not nice fans and they're not good fans. And they didn't exist for 80 plus minutes until they got the second goal. The moment they got the second goal, there was like a new environment on the field because they woke up.
Yeah.
And they laughed at each other. They laughed at us.
Mm-hmm.
They were laughing at us. The players were laughing at us. And I don't blame the players.
Literally.
They can do whatever they want. Like, that's fine. Like, I can take it. You come and laugh at me. Yes, you won the game. You deserve it. But the fans that they were not showing up, the fans that they were just like quiet for 80 minutes, and then finally they started to celebrate just because, well, the team did what they were supposed to do, but not them. And then you come and your coach comes and tells you, "Oh, we did good. We should have just scored goals." No shit. But don't come like at me and say like every single game is a good game. Stop with that rehearsal.
That's
answer.
one way to lose a fan base.
Well,
and that's
I think
it.
I think that's what's going on, guys. Because Lutz even said a few different times in that interview with Tom Ackerman on KMOX, we scored enough chances. We could have won. We should have won. Multiple times we hear that same thing. So I think there's consistency in that messaging, and it's inconsistency with what we're seeing on the field. Because I don't know. I don't want to say people that own the club think fans are stupid, because I don't think they think we're stupid. But that's where the frustration is, because it comes off like we're stupid, like we don't know what we're watching. And it's insulting as hell, and I don't like it. But my question for you, and I don't want to be an apologist, but Matt Baker made this point on Flyover Fallout earlier in the week, or on Sunday. He said this is the first major, like, yes, he was a coach in Sweden, but over there, their coaches don't have the media attention like the MLS gets. Is there any room for giving Olaf any kind of room and not saying, "Hey, I expect an answer right away," or is that just giving him an out?
No, this is the job. This is the job that he signed up for. This is the job that surely he was warned about. Although I do vaguely recall Olaf saying at the factory event that I don't think he even knew where Missouri was, until Lutz offered him. So that's all. I mean, I'm sure he was joking, but like, no, this is the job. And Olaf admitted that this is a step up for him. So it's time to step up. I know Olaf may not be the most charismatic of speakers. He may not be used to dealing with media. Get fucking used to it. Pardon the language, because this is the big leagues. This is Major League Soccer. We're a top 10 league in the world, and you're on a club that has high expectations from its fan base, a very engaged fan base, and a fan base that just went through all sorts of double speak and mealy mouthing from Bradley Carnell. No, I'm not giving Olaf any leeway on that. This is the job. This is what you signed up for. Do the job.
Yeah, we've had a couple visitors recently
Yeah.
We had Oscar's kid coming up here. We got my cat. They're all wanting to talk about City. Oscar,
they're all kind of like mad at everything. I completely agree, Tom. This is a job, and I've never seen in my years of watching soccer and following teams that coaches repeatedly said the same thing as much as we, and it's just the same message for 3 years. Carnell said it, Hackworth said it, now Olaf said it, Lutz have been saying it for 3 years, and it comes to a point like someone in the chat was saying like, yeah, there's a balance of protecting players and paying the live for the fans, but like, I would have not be as pissed as I am right now and still after 2 days if Olaf would have say we didn't perform the way we were supposed to perform against our rival, and we apologize to our fans that travel because they put a lot of efforts to come here and support us, and we let them down.
Yeah, and I think your concern is very valid, Oscar, because this is our rival. This is our blood rival. This is our, this is our Rangers to our Celtic. This is our match, and this is our one stab at our evil foe in their own lair. And for Olaf to come out, and I don't want to call it dismissive, but it sounded like his press conference could have sounded like any other match. And that's a problem. And Oscar, you stayed after, and Jeremy, I think you stayed after as well. I bolted early, but is it true that Olaf didn't acknowledge the away supporters when they were doing their walk around?
So I tell you, there was about maybe 7 players total. The first one that came was Teutsch, then was Betcher, Wallem, Lund came for a bit.
Yeah.
And Kessler came for a bit. And that might be it. No, Yarrow didn't because he had press, so I think he had to go.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That maybe dismissed.
5 out of 20?
Yeah, that's
crazy.
Well, the only picture I saw of Olaf after. I saw one picture of Olaf walking off the field shrouded in blue light, and he just looked beaten. And honestly, that was how he sounded on his press conference. He was just sitting back in his chair. He almost seemed bereft of ideas. Like to me, he came off as a man beaten who didn't have answers for the questions, didn't have an explanation, didn't want to get into the weeds with what happened. And he's never that way. He's always, I've noticed, very, very guarded with his responses, and he won't analyze, or like to your point earlier, Oscar, about him needing to answer those questions. Tom Timmerman pointedly asked him multiple times, what's different with this team from last year? They were scoring at the end of last season. Why are they not scoring now? Oh, I don't want to talk about this game until I've seen the stats or until I've looked at it. I don't know. Come on, you've played the game at almost the highest levels. You've got to be able to give some quick analysis of what you see. Right?
You're a coach. You're in charge of your team. You're watching the game because you're supposed to solve problems on the go. When something's not going well, your job as a coach is change your tactics, change your way to play to fix what the problems are. So your mind should know what went well, what went wrong, and what should have changed, to go to a press conference and say like, oh no, I need to watch the video. What were you doing? Were you sleeping on the bench?
Yeah, exactly. You had a front row seat to the game. Like,
yeah,
I can tell you what was wrong. And I was screaming my lungs out for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell you.
Maybe some confusion there with how Olaf has responded so far. That's something I'm going to look into for my next question on Sunday night versus Columbus. Speaking of Sunday night versus Columbus, if we can try to get some predictions in quickly for the game in Columbus in St. Louis. It'll be at home, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
It is. It's a home match. The return of AZ Jackson.
What do you guys think the outcome will be in a few short sentences, if possible?
Who's going
as
first?
I said, Payne. I'm gonna go 2-0 loss. I'm that pessimistic.
Okay, we got 2-0
Yeah.
loss from the
I mean, I
Soccer
was going to
Zombie.
ask you, do we want to put our heart as a fan and hope for the best, or just being realistic?
I'm
I would
approaching this.
say, what do you think if you were going to have to bet money on it? What would you say the outcome would be?
I think 2-0 down, even like 3-0 down.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Jeremy?
approaching this match like a prostate exam.
Short and sweet version of it. Columbus they are unbeaten. They're 4-3-0 this season, +5 goal differential. So you can find goals. I'm not confident that this team will, but I don't think we're getting blown out. I'm going to go with a 1-0 loss at home, unfortunately. And I just wonder if the Boo Birds are going to come out at the end of that one.
Yes.
I'll go with a less excited. My prediction last game was a 6-0 win versus Kansas City. You gotta
I like
hope
the
this
optimism.
time I'm gonna be less excited and less antsy about it. I'm gonna say it's a 3-1 loss to the hands of the
That's still not
unbeaten
optimistic.
Columbus Crews.
No. Hey,
No,
I do
no.
have a
I
quick
said I'm
question.
being less optimistic. Less.
It's optimistic that you would think we're going to score a goal against
You know,
Columbus.
you never know. You never know. So with AZ
Yeah.
Jackson in the midfield, you never know what's going to
optimism
happen.
went on loan to Sparta Rotterdam with Thor. I mean, with that prediction.
Yeah. I'll say this. Maybe, just maybe, if City wins this game, I need to start driving myself to the games more often. I just got my license recently. I'll be driving myself to the game. Thank you.
Watch out on the
you.
roads. Real
Of
quick.
course.
Hey,
Tell me
St.
what
Louis
time you're
drivers.
hitting the road, so I'm off the road at the moment.
Everyone's dangerous.
So I have to admit, no, my group, Tom, like yours, left. So as soon as that second goal got over, the group that I was with, they were tired, they were cold, they were frustrated. So we did leave in like the 88th minute or so, or right before they got their second, or right after they got their second goal. Oscar, I heard through the grapevine that there were reported boos for our players at the end when they came to salute. Did that happen? Because I'm just curious. Did we boo our team in Kansas City? Or no? You did. I think
Yes.
I see that smile means a yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very proud of what things happen and what the person I became in that moment, to be honest. And
I wasn't centering you out. I didn't want to.
I'm not gonna. No. Like, and I take responsibility.
Right,
I did
witness.
what I did, and obviously it was not the best response in my end, and I do take responsibility. I know, like, I should have done it, but at the same time, like, I feel like those players needed to hear what was really in our heart, and yes, there was definitely booze and more than booze, and very upset people. There were still people that trying to clap, but at the same time, like, we're just clapping for mediocrity, so it's just not okay. So there was a lot of boos. I think, like, the reactions of Toicher, Wallem, and Betcher of giving the shirts to the fans was a reaction of noticing how pissed off we were. Because they normally don't do that. I've never seen them on an away game that they come straight out and toss the shirts. But the moment they heard, like, this is unacceptable, boo, like, you guys have to do better, and other not such nice things, they said, I have to do something to, like, calm them down a little bit.
Yeah, and that's a shame. I want to talk about Super Ravioli's comment here. Super Mario, by the way, the princess is still in another castle, but he made notes that he was disappointed by the lack of insight during the press conference. We talked about that earlier. I think this is why that our role as fans is very important in games like this, that we need to let the front office know that we are displeased. I mean, in a mostly respectful manner, of course, but we cannot have derby losses like this be acceptable and be the norm. Like we were talking about how, Olaf, doesn't understand the assignment of, dealing with the media and being forward in his press conferences. I mean, let this be a teaching moment. And I don't know if shows like this get back to the front office. I've heard they they have. So let this be a lesson that we need to be vocal as a fan base when things like Saturday night happen. I mean, I was originally not going to, do a reaction myself on my channel, and then I thought better of it because, I mean, I have a voice, you have a voice, Oscar, you have a voice, Jeremy, Charlie, you have a voice, Musa Seka, lurking in the chats, a little shy for this episode, but he's got a voice. We all have a voice, and we all need to make that voice heard, and we need to show this front office that we are still committed to this team and that we're still going to support this team. However, if this keeps up, maybe there's a few more empty seats in the stadium as the season goes on. Maybe Energizer Park gets a little less loud than it usually does by the time October rolls around, and maybe Carolyn Kindle's bottom line goes down a little bit because tickets aren't quite flying off the shelves because of this boring brand of soccer, because the results are not coming, because we have a head coach that is not being upfront and forthright with his fan base. This is where we have a voice. And so I mean, seriously, keep it up, guys. Keep it up.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it. I think off camera last week. I mentioned it to Jeremy and Mo a little bit that I feel like there's no connection between the team and the fan base, especially with the supporter groups. I don't know, like they it seems like they're afraid of us. They're afraid of approaching our end or like even like appreciating the efforts that we put. Because I mean, there's no hiding it that there's tons of people that put almost the entire day to put what we put in the supporter section, to end on a game where, okay, so like Sunday we lost against Austin, and there was barely a coming to us and say hi, and then keep walking away. Like, and then you see I'm spending an hour and a half in the rest of the stadium, like going around on these people where, I don't know, like it's just frustration on my end. I know I'm not better than anybody as a fan. I don't believe that, but at the same time, like supporters give a lot for this team, and we do it for free. Well, not for free, we pay.
Well, we do pay, but yeah.
I mean, we're wearing we're wearing $180 shirts, right? I mean, come on.
Hey, Mo, just to wrap it up a little bit, amazing conversation so far, y'all. Just to wrap it up, Mo, what is your score prediction?
I'll put me on the spot. You know what? 2-0 City.
Oh, we got some
If there was one
optimism.
guy that was going to be the optimist, it's Mo.
No.
That's so true. That's very true. All right, y'all. I mean,
yes.
we talked about
So Charlie, just to add to that 2-0, one thing that I was thinking is that there's two ways that the team will show up, right? The first one is you play against KC and then you show up, or else you get beat by KC and then you show up when you come back to City. Because I've talked to other City players. I do know that they are feeling the heat now, and it's very loud and clear that, like I told Oscar yesterday, right? It's not that we lost against SKC, it's that the matter that we lost against SKC, that the fans are pissed off. If they would have played well and then SKC was just a better team with the new coach and whatever, I think the struggle and the angriness that the fans are having now would have been a lot less than what we're currently having, just because of the performance.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this kind of thing. Like, I mean, Kayla right here talking about boring soccer is fun if boring soccer gets results. And I agree 100%. Jeremy, what were you going to say?
So so to your point, and I was going to ask the group. So there was a quote that and I've kind of paraphrased it in a few things I've written since the weekend, but Josh Yarrow after the game was very open, and he was one that said accountability is really on the players right now. He said in every match this year, the coaches have prepared them to play, that nothing has caught the players by surprise because they were prepped as best as they could. He says right now it's on the players to be better and to get the results. Your thoughts on all of that, if any?
Well, first
Yeah,
of all,
I mean,
it doesn't
that's fair.
surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that Josh Yarrow is the one to come out and be forthright and honest with the fans, because that I mean, that is, he's literally the man of the people. Like, that is his MO. And like, shout out to Josh Yarrow. I've had my issues with him this year, and just some of his limitations with passing the ball. But in a true like lightning bolt coming down from the heavens and striking me moment, when I did my player rankings, he was my man of the match, because I thought he was actually very solid on Saturday, and the issues weren't necessarily on his side. It was Hebert and that side. But Yarrow's right. I mean, Yarrow is absolutely right. He hit it on the head once again. What do you think, Oscar?
So I'll tell you, he is not gonna say that the coach is not preparing you. So that's
right.
Never gonna happen.
Yeah, he's a teammate first.
Well, I mean, it's his job, and if you're gonna talk bad about your coach, you're not gonna play anymore. So,
no.
So let's put that aside and saying that a player will never say anything like you're not being prepared. But I also think that they know the heat's coming. They know they haven't performed well, and he was apologetic in some end and said like they do need to correct things. It's obvious you need to correct things. But hello, no goal patrol. But it just how you're correcting things, how you are really, because it comes back to the same rhetorical answers. Yes, we did something good, but we didn't do good enough. But how many games you gonna tell me that until that? And now they're seeing that people are becoming upset. And this was a franchise that for the first 2 years, because it was, yes, somebody said at the honeymoon stage, where we were so thankful to have a team that we didn't care if in some way that they perform or not as well if they were trying. Because let's face it, last year wasn't the best, but at the same time, like, they were trying. It was some attractiveness to the season. There was exciting games. There was something that you could leave the stadium like, okay, we lost, but man, that was a thriller of a game. This year, we were like, I don't even how to explain it. Just like we come to the stadium with a hope that something's gonna change, and we just go back to the same mellow stage of accepting that we don't have anything.
Yeah, and I think to add to yours, I think the big difference that I'm starting to see, like, we keep on comparing like the end of last season, and we thought that the progression of it, but we also have to also remember, right, that we have a new coach, and I think Hack, when he had those new players that came in, they had a little bit more of that freedom to say, "Hey, show us what you have," versus now is that the coach trying to implement his technique, and what he's trying to implement. And I think maybe the players are not gelling just yet.
I will be right back. I'm gonna grab my other cat because I guess we're grabbing our pets now. I think I'll be right back.
Oh, we're doing that. Okay,
you wish the pets portion of this show.
It will be a French dog that will be coming.
You can do it, Mo.
I had obviously we'll rephrase it again, but I had a small question. I mentioned it to Mo yesterday, but it was the way that we built up our roster and the way that we don't act into getting players that they're worth. Just to think that yesterday we had Jovelich, or yesterday, 2 days ago, Jovelich stabbing us in the heart twice, and just thinking, hey, wasn't he free at the beginning of the season? Hey, wasn't he just 4.5 million available to go to a place? And when we say, hey, there's a good player that might be in the range for City, the first excuse that we always think is, well, it's not a high market, right? Like, well, Jovelich was playing in LA, So you would think like, oh, he's not gonna go to a Midwest team, or he's just gonna go to East Coast team or something. And hey, big surprise, he decided to go to Kansas. And I mean, he's the best player on his team right now. That he hasn't perform as much as they wanted to, but it's not because of him. It's because of the people that are around him.
Yes.
Because he's definitely getting everything that he gets, put him back in the net. So why we didn't sign that player? Why Lutz was not good enough to say this is a player that would be great in our franchise for only 4.5.
So I think that's a great point, and it all goes back to Lutz and roster construction, guys. So think about this, and I don't recall the exact dates they made the announcements, but the offseason, we bought down Berkey, if I remember right. He's now a TAM player. We have an open designated player spot, but then they changed roster models to go to the U22 model that gives you the extra GAM, which is all well and fine, good, great. But if you stayed with the 3DP model, maybe you go out and get a Joveljic. You pick him up. He was traded for $4 million to SKC. First ML player cash trade in the history. Like, when you know you're a side that's gonna need goals, and I don't know, has anybody soured on the Betcher loan yet? Because he hasn't done anything since last season. I don't know. That's a decision that comes up in June. I don't know. It just feels like there's so many things that this front office could have done or tried to do to make us better and avoid where we are now 7 games in.
Well, I will say that, like, I did get Betcher on the back of my current City Red kit, and he would be the third player that I've gotten a kit for that has left St. Louis. So it would be very on brand if he did leave. I mean, Thomas Totland, don't get comfortable because he's on my confluence.
So, I mean, Betcher, I would keep Betcher, but he's not. Yeah, I never put names on my shirts, Charlie.
No, I've got nothing on the back.
So, but anyway, so Betcher, I like what he's bringing to the team, of what he brought to the team last year. But we go back to the same point that we just mentioned. I don't want to go too in deep. It's like everybody's getting out of position.
Yeah.
So we're not getting the best of him because everybody's out of position. So.
And I think Betcher does have a role on this team. Like, I think ideally he's the guy you bring on for the final 30 to, either be the final dagger, assuming that you're actually able to connect passes to him, which is, you were just talking about Joveljic having an issue in KC. I mean, they just can't get the ball to him. Can't get the ball to Klaus either here or any of our strikers. But then, like, he's also he brings that kind of scary Jerry, S-housery, element to his game as well as a pressing forward. Like, to me, he's a great closing striker, and I don't think he makes very much. And I've heard that his buy option from AC Horsens is quite affordable. So I think he comes back as well. And it's really not an issue with Betcher so much. Again, it's tactics, it's system. It's not, it's not even just a matter of not connecting it to Betcher. You're asking Betcher to do things that, quite frankly, he's just not capable of doing. He's not a link-up guy. He's not a guy that you want setting up. You want him to be on the other end of balls that are set up to him. That's his game.
A ball to the space that he can finish.
Yep.
A ball in the box where he can tap it in.
Yep.
Like, that's what you do. And a high press person where if you are forcing the defenders to make mistakes, he's a good workhorse in the last 20 minutes.
And that's assuming we are pressing at all, which, Jeremy, we are not.
But we don't.
Nope, 30th in PPDA. We don't press, even though, again, remember, the system wasn't changing, guys. The philosophy's not changing. We're still a gegenpressing team. Romo in the chat brings up a great point, I think. No, it was Daniel Guevara in the chat, rather, talking about Opoku. Remember that name from the offseason that we were all, I was salivating over the idea of a dynamic winger in the attack. Yeah, I was ready for it, but no, that didn't come to fruition. I guess the question I have, guys, is if we're going to put blame on someone or something for where we are now, is it Carolyn in the front office? Is it Lutz in the sport, as a football director, sporting director side, or is it on Olaf for being too stubborn to change his tactics and make things fit in his system? Or is it a
combination of the three?
I know this one, guys.
Yeah.
Selmer Pedro's. It's Selmer Pedro's fault. He did not do what he's supposed to do in the first game. In the first season, it's Selvar Pedro's fault. No, I'm just joking.
When did Jake Henry get here, Tom?
I was gonna say, Jake, when did you show up?
Yeah, no, just a little joke. It's a school night for me. I gotta hit the hay. Great talking with you guys as per usual. We had 2 guests this time. First ever time we've had 2 guests. All right.
And there's more.
And there's more. There's more. Stay tuned next Monday, y'all.
Appears.
Okay, so
Adios.
to catch up on that, yes.
Hi, Charlie. Have a good night.
It's a combination from ownership group and Lutz, in my opinion. Ownership group, like I mentioned earlier, because they gave too much power to Lutz. Since day one when they brought Lutz, they basically said, we don't have any idea how a soccer team works, so you're gonna build this for us. And I think that in some ways was good. Let's think the academies. Let's think the part of the not pay to play side that he's trying to involve in the academies. That's great. That's amazing. I love it. I support 100%. But to the point of building a squad and the way that he has proven to be mistaken most of the times, he is not good sporting director for a professional team. He just bases everything on his context or his private business, whatever he has, because there is a reason why he only brings players from Bundesliga 2 and things like that. But hey, Tom, you say, well, that's what he knows, but apparently we didn't bring him because he played in all 7 continents and he knew all the sport all war around. So
well, Lutz is a very charming guy. Well, look, Lutz is a very charming guy. He's a good speaker, and I'm sure when he was interviewed for the position that he probably had a very impressive interview, and that that's probably how he landed with the job. I mean, it's his job, as a side hustle to be a commentator, and you have to be a good speaker for that. I think it is kind of dangerous that Lutz does. I mean, and I'm not anti-Lutz, but I think in the context, as you were talking about how Carolyn Kindle has repeatedly joked about how she doesn't know much about soccer, and she laughs about how derpy she is about soccer. She give that means you're giving power to other people to make these decisions because you literally do not know any better. And
what's a Bernabeu,
it's a bit dangerous, and it's the old saying goes, the road to hell is paved in good intentions. And of course, we are so thankful that we even have this club, and for sure. But you look at a guy like Tom Stillman, with the Blues, he's a hockey guy. He knows what he's doing. In terms of running the club, he's considered one of the best owners in the NHL. Because he's good at the business side, but then he loves his team, and it shows. I'm not going to talk about DeWitt because he doesn't really, but he does come from a family of baseball people though, because the DeWitts have a long family history of owning baseball teams. Carolyn Kindle is Carolyn come lately. She just showed up on the block, and
but she did something good. But I think it's just trying to patch something that they recognized that it wasn't the great idea that they thought it was, and it was bringing Diego. And Diego,
so guys, how much
is a knowledgeable person, and the soccer world obviously has been around a big stages, and I think bringing Diego was great, but what's the next step? Because I think still Lutz has too much power into the building the team. Like I said, he doesn't consult the coach of what to bring. He's more like what he wants, what he likes. And it should be the other way around. I think the coach should be the one deciding what player needs to complement the team. And I think Diego has to step up a little bit on his roles and take some of that power from Lutz and give it to the coach in the moment, whoever it would be.
But that kind of concerns me because Diego seems like a very nice guy.
Yeah, but if I could add, the role of the coach in today's times has completely changed. When you Oscar, you were saying the coach is having the say on the players. That is long gone. the one where you have the Arsenals, the Manchester United players. Now it's all sporting directors, a group of directors that come in that says, and I'm using Chelsea as an example. The coach
and
now has
how Chelsea has been doing lately.
Yeah,
they're in 6th place in the EPL.
Well, no, I mean this year finally something's clicking, but happened in the years past.
But that's like it's like all of the teams now is like a conglomerate.
But the counterpoint, I'll use
like a small piece,
and I'll point to this guy right here, Mr. Klopp. You mean to tell me that Klopp had no influence on player signings in Liverpool?
He's a dying breed. Klopp is part of.
Oh, and he's retired. So
Ferguson.
Fair point.
He's like the Ferguson of the football world.
Yeah, but you think there's got to be?
I disagree. I disagree with all this because
name me one club that has a coach that can say, "This is the player I want."
Okay, but there has to
run it.
Sorry, Mo. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah.
No, there's got to at least be a conversation there because you can't keep fitting a round peg into a square hole. Like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But I also have to add also that I'm starting to kind of look at the deeper of like who's Lutz is actually working with behind the scenes. There's a lot more people that are actually consulting, that are working with Lutz to bring in people. For example, the Taylor Tillman's dad, that long history of soccer, he's part of that group that's directly one hand with Lutz. There's
so we've got an Ineos. We have an Ineos board like United does to sign off on all the players. Great, got it. Cool, great.
But also
it's working great. It's working great for me.
But let's not forget we have also Hack that is behind the scenes that knows US soccer. I think is maybe we don't know exactly who are behind the scenes as much as we like to.
I think you're seeing it way too positive, Mo. I think you're thinking.
No, it's not positive. It's just
Moose is second
of soccer in general.
Nah, he's just trying to rationalize.
I mean, the way that I see it, that you're putting it is that it's not just Lutz, that there is a group behind that is. But at the same time, let's say us four we're in that group, right? And I'm Lutz, and you guys bring me stuff, and you guys are doing your job, and then I go and look to my side, and I like this, but you guys don't like it, and guess what? We're gonna get this because
I don't know. I'm starting to see a lot of the back.
Do you think Hackworth brought the Bundesliga?
There's a lot of people that are using a lot more stats wise. So I think that's why you cannot give me a coach at this moment in the top leagues in the world unless he's part of Real Madrid that says this is the guy I want and they're going to get him as a
Luis
coach.
Enrique.
Who?
Luis Enrique.
From
PSG. PSG.
He does not have that much say.
He built his team,
but
the team that
does not have
right now.
The
team he has right now, he built it because he had full stars. He had Mbappe, he had Neymar, he had Messi, and he was not happy with the performance that was bringing because he had too many superstars.
That's
he brought players that he wanted to function in his style. That's one.
That's my home team, right? So those players that you're referring, like Barconas and all that, those are PSG Academy kids. They did not buy those players outside. He
didn't have to.
They literally are 3 blocks from my house in France.
And
those
that's great, but he didn't have to buy him, but he recognized that he had that talent in his academies and he's making them play. He's building his team. He's not requesting to go buy me anything. And the sporting director is also not forcing players and say, hey, you have to play this one.
Yeah, because PSG is a different team. PSG, they have a group ownership that does not have 15 sporting directors. And they don't have a group that owns 5 clubs.
City group, excuse me.
Yes, there you go. So I think it's like a build up that we have to see. And yes, we see a lot of players from the same area of the world. And trust me, City is currently not playing the type of football that I enjoy watching.
Me neither.
If it was up to me, there will be 5 Celio on the team playing because that's what I enjoy.
I will tell you, And Jeremy, after this, you can
you're
go.
fine.
But I'll tell you, Mo, you keep asking like, okay, so which teams are forming? If you think of lower teams that they're not the main top 5 of the top 5 leagues,
Right.
but they play in top leagues. Those teams, they do ask the coaches, they do try to build their team around what the coach's idea is. They just don't start bringing players and say like, hey, you handle this, because that will be a waste of money for them and they don't have it. So you have to work with your coach, especially when you're not as big as, let's say, well, City is not big. We are a small club. We have 3 years in the making. You should be working with your plan coach and see what fits better for you, and stop wasting the money that we're not wasting because we don't spend any. But
does that work in MLS though? I think that's what the biggest thing I see is that MLS kind of put those restrictions that a coach cannot say, this is what I want and this is how I'm going to build it.
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the
I'm
only one
seeing,
that
like,
can do that is Miami, because Miami can do whatever they want.
Yeah, because they have Messi, so he's like almost the owner / coach / sporting director / and I think one thing we're also missing, I think, from City wise, is that all of the teams that are spending big money is that they have a group of owners that put money in the pot and says, this is what we have, compared to like we have one ownership group, one family that owns it. And we're not talking like Abramovich that says, here's my checkbook, it's spent. So I think there's also that one where you look at LAFC, how many celebrities and millionaires they have on that group. You have 15 millionaires. If they go and put $1 million each, there's your 15 millions. Compared to, I guess, our team, where I guess they're still trying to get their money back. So not to make any excuses, I just see, how other teams are being built, restrictions. I'm sure LA Galaxy would want all their players back. Jovic.
So speaking of how teams are built, I gotta ask, and I'm gonna go back. Jerry put this in the chat a little while ago, but we've got a few guys out. How many of our problems are solved when they come back? Whether it's Totland and Alm and Horn, is there confidence that when we get healthy again, and I'll lump Leuven in, even though it's not an injury, it's personal time off. How much of our stuff gets corrected when we get our back to our top preferred squad?
I think this is probably the safest assumption that you can make, but we can't be worse when they come back. But like you're just thinking about the names, Totland. Like we were leaning so much on Totland at the start of the year to funnel the attack up the right side, and his service into the box wasn't the greatest, but like at least he looked dangerous on that side. So I think when he comes back, it's going to be big. I think people are sleeping on Jay Reed. And when he gets healthy, like you talk about someone that is, a fit for, a wing back driven system. I mean, Reed's got, hustle for days, and he's got good speed. I think when he comes back in July, I think that's what they're forecasting for Jay. That's going to be a big difference. I mean, we still Celio didn't play the full 90. In KC, he's still getting his fitness back up. Ostrak's getting his fitness up. He came on out of necessity because of, Nilsson getting hurt. Edouard Leuven, assuming everything is okay in his personal life, and he comes back, with a clear head and, beats the Edouard Leuven that we know. I mean, that's a difference right there. There is validity to the fact, Popper. There is validity to the fact that yes, we are being hampered by injuries right now, and it kind of lends itself to the argument that we are playing with the wrong pieces on the chessboard. Like we have pawns where we should have rooks and knights, basically right now. But I hesitate to say this the entire issue. The other side of the issue we talked about ad nauseum is tactics and and deployment. But I think it will help. I think it will help when we get them back. It's just what's the shape of this team going to look like? But when they do come back, and what adjustments does Olaf make that stick between now and then? Hi, Pupper.
Oscar, you've got a pair of cute puppies there.
They just demolished my computer.
Oh well.
All right, so I guess I have to do the same thing. Is that why we?
Yeah, we've reached the pet. We've reached the therapy pet portion of Top Corner.
Look, we're sponsored by Purina. It's only fitting we have animals on the show at some point.
Oh boy! No.
I mean, Top Corner is sponsored by Purina,
So,
man.
hey,
You guys are quick.
I do want to touch a little bit what you said, Tom. So yes, we have injuries, and that's another like hot topic that I actually forgot about it. But to the ones that they're coming back to answer the question, like, will be better. Yes, we'll probably be better if we get a full squad, obviously, because that's what the intent was at the beginning of the season. But are we really thinking, like, for example, you mentioned Reed? Yes, he's a wing, like a left wing type player. Who you gonna get out?
Hebert.
Yeah,
But Hebert hasn't played left wing.
Watts?
No, but Hebert hasn't played left wing.
He started left wing in KC.
Well, but we have been using Horn. We have been using Wallem. We have been using now Celio. So
well,
like,
Nilsson's gone, so you put Horn back at his left center back spot where he's ideal.
Are you gonna put Reed in a spot that Celio when now Celio is like actually our best performance?
Oh, I think Celio he should start in front of Reed. It's just a question of will Olaf start him at left wing back is the question.
Yeah,
So
I
want
to see one on the right, one on the left, because they're faster and they can actually dribble. So I think that's the thing we're kind of missing currently, is that we're so one-dimensional that they know that if Wallem is on that side and if we hold them, then the speed is gone for the rest of the field.
I mean, we're so one-dimensional. Like, we had Celio and Wallem on the same side after the injury.
So, all right. So, okay, hear me out. Can we change tactics and formation? Can we switch to a 4-3-3? Use Reed as a left back, and find spots for both Pompeu and Wallem in that midfield, whether one of them is a CM, one of them is a winger, or opposite sides of a striker. I don't know. Is it seems doable. Yeah,
play anywhere except goalie. Like, so, and like I wouldn't mind him, being, even as an 8, if we had to, because I think he does have that in his locker, just with his hustle and his motor and his tenacity. I don't think you have a problem finding spots for those two, no matter what the formation is. It's just a matter of what does Olaf think.
Yeah, because if they're all three of them on the field, that means we're talking, speed, pass, dribbles. And then that means Klaus does not have to come all the way back to carry the ball back again. He can literally just be a pest to the
and you have Toicher and Hartel actually playing in the positions they need to play.
Yep.
Yes. Would you imagine if you have that's literally 5 or 6 attacking players that actually can create, run, cross,
which is what we're ruling over at the start of the year.
Yeah. And Klaus just park by the defender, be a pass to them and to the goalkeeper, and I can guarantee you the goals with. But Klaus cannot run all the way to 3/4 of the
midfield
and then have him do that's how we had the first season, right? The high press was so high that he was breathing down the neck of those center backs, and they made mistake every single game.
At times, Klaus tries to be both a 6 and a 9, and that is not nice.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll tell you, like, the ways that we were playing last year, and sometimes we were losing games, and it was like, oh, well, we're leaving spaces behind. But we were like, I think, Tom, you said in your own channel that at least we had a punch. Like, we knew that we could attack and we had a punch back. Like, we could create and be aggressive and we have the same players. You just have to use them correctly. And I think the formation, yes, Jeremy, needs to change. If we want to be more attacking minded team, it needs to change to that 4-3-3 again. And
I mean, Jeremy can attest. During my away watch-alongs, when we had those 3-3 games, Yoda became a therapy pet for me. During those watch-alongs, because those were some stressful watches, but at least we had a chance.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Musa,
I gotta run, guys. Thanks so much for having me on. This was a lot of fun and, quite frankly, cathartic. Because like I said, I think we all have voices, and I think staying quiet is not the way to go. We need to get it out, if nothing else, for our own sanity and our own mental health, but also to let the club know that this is not acceptable. What would be acceptable is going on alvinyork.com and buying a Soccer Zombie jersey. This is the last week they are on sale. Code in your head for $5 off. Thanks, guys.
Well, yes.
Thanks, Tom.
And let's not forget he's doing it for a good cause too. So
yeah, I'm fine. Yeah. Proceeds from every sale go to Generation City. So,
yes, sir.
Take care, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, Tom.
All right. There you have it. So you see, Oscar, I had to come and give you trouble, and it happened.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, we were all pissed off. I think like you have a little set of mind, and you have a little more knowledge in some sides. So, I mean, there's always good to know, but I mean, Tom nailed it to the head. It just I mean, Jeremy said the same thing. Like the system doesn't work. We just got to try something different. And I know, like I believe Gary was saying, like, hey, we're only 7 games on the season, but how many more games do we have to give up to actually realize a system's not working? I mean, I personally, when we said the first 3 games, I say I'm gonna wait to the game 5 to recognize what our team is. And I don't know if you remember that, Mo. I said, like, I wasn't
at 5,
sure.
so yeah.
Like, I was like, let's wait until 5, and then on the 5th, we're still kind of like on the verge. And now it's 7. Now we know what we have, what we offering.
Yeah.
We offering nothing on the front. We're hoping that anything on the back will stay clear and find one chance that we can definitely finish.
Yeah, and that's the hard part, guys. We've got, especially 7 down, the next 5 home against Columbus, home against Vancouver, first in the East, first in the West. Then we go to LAFC, then back to the West Coast against Seattle, and then home to San Diego, who's currently second in the West. So the trek doesn't get easier. Suddenly, those 8 points to the first 7, you really wish it was more, especially given the teams that were coming off of CONCACAF midweek games. And with the current form, losing 3 on the bounce, it's not a lot of optimism right now for what could be coming our way.
Yep. It will be there. It's literally their time now to show us what they're all about, and that will pretty much determine where we are.
Transfer window's still open. Do we do anything? Doubt it.
Who knows?
But it's still open.
Good.
Yeah.
So I would not pass it.
Hey, my last one. I don't want to take too much time on you guys. We've talked for almost like 2 hours already, but talking about injuries and has been a topic every year. Every year we had the same issue, especially in the early stages of the season. So why I've never seen a team that has that many injuries and so consistent as City has in the 3 years. Some people on chats and on messages on Blue Sky or things like that, like, is it time to start talking about the physical fitness, the physical preparation, not just the coaching staff on the tactical end, but the fitness coaching, the ones that they are preparing our team for a full season, because that's why you do preseason. You do preseason to build that so your body doesn't break. And we come to 7 games in a season and we have a squad broken.
True. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's almost worldwide. If you start to look at a lot of the teams, um, there's that discussion, and I think we can almost take that away from our players. Playing too many games because they aren't. But it seems like worldwide is like players are playing so much that they get injured too often. But for our city team, I I don't know. Is it on the players during their off season? They're not working out as much or staying fit as much, or we don't have, I guess, that much see of. I know a few of the players. I can say yes, they do work out because we see them either on social media or we see them around. I'm just wondering if some of these players during the off season is it like a true off season, or it's one of those Mo Salah-esque where he has 3 days off and then he's back to training.
Yeah. So
Or
I don't
take care of your
know.
body better.
Jerry says a thing that like 3 coaches points to the trainers. Yes, I completely agree. It comes to the trainers, to the preparation, to the chefs, to the nutritionists, to the person in charge of recovering. There's so much involved on that, and obviously it has to come some from the player too, to
A lot.
stay healthy,
Yeah.
to not going to parties at night, or not over drinking, or not because obviously alcohol slows your metabolism and it slows your recovery. We know that some professionals smoke cigarettes that do the same thing with your body, but at the same time, it's like it's not normal that most of our injuries are muscle injuries. You get out the unfortunate Celio, unfortunate Ostrak, and let's say Durkin that he has had knees problems. But then there's muscle, hamstrings, quads a few times. And now I think horn is it growing, I believe. And it's like, are we not stretching? Like sounds basic, like going back to like you are coaching a 12-year-old team. Are we warming up correctly? Are we stretching correctly? Are we going and doing the ice baths? Not everybody knows that you as a professional they need to do after a game, after a trip. Is there the food is the chefs and the nutritionists are working for the best of these players that yes. Mo, you said sometimes they get overworked and they play too many games around the world, but I mean not our
Not
team,
for us,
because
no.
our team we're 7 games in.
Yeah, now
we haven't hit the cup schedule yet.
No, and we have a state of the art facility, so I don't think the lack of that is. I don't know. Maybe players off season is different depending on who you talk of. Off season is what their training season is what 4 weeks, so that's a very small window. So and I think most of them have a lot more vacation times than the rest of the world. So I cannot justify any of those. You should pretty much come fit when it comes to the season in MLS because you have what? If you don't make the playoffs, you have what 6-7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Take 2 weeks off and then back to business, pretty much.
And I mean, if you weren't fully fit or whatever, like that's why you have a month of preseason.
Yeah. Yes,
and
pretty
that's
much
why you have your specialists.
It's more technical than physical, pretty much.
I mean, not when I played.
Oh no, it's totally different.
I mean, maybe my sides were doing it wrong, but I remember my preseason were all build up your fitness for your entire season, and then you start working on your tactics.
Yeah.
So
looks like some of those is very technical.
So because for me it was like preseason, it was the most heady time of the year because you knew you were not gonna touch the ball. It was just gonna run, drills, agility, jump, strength, and then maybe on Friday you're like, hey, okay, we'll play a little scrimmage. and then go back in the next week and do the same thing, and then slowly introducing the ball to fitness work. So I don't know if they're doing that or not. That's up to them.
very
Jerry,
true.
I think, is saying like muscle injury equals too much weight training. Yeah, I could see that there were reports that some players complain about Carnell and how we're overly working on the gym, and that this one was gonna be different. But I had a feeling that it has not changed. So that could be it. I mean, yes, you weight train, your muscles get tight because that's what you're doing. You're building out that mass, and then you go into a fast paced game. Those fibers gonna break.
Yeah, and also taking a long period of break also does not help your body. That's why some of them, when you play national team, you kind of stay fit longer, and you don't have to, kind of stop your body and then break it again to be match fit. That's why you see some of those guys, that play international, they're usually fit 11 months out of the 12. But injury wise, it's kind of hard to tell where to point the finger at because they don't do national.
I mean, for me, it's concerning, but I mean, who has the answer? Probably nobody has it. But
yeah.
No, but it's got to be looked into at this point because you guys have said it 3 years in a row. We've run into this injury depleted, issue, and it's tested our depth. Oscar, I think it was it last week you said, or the week before, where you said your concern going into the match was depth, and I don't think it's gotten any better.
No, and we're not using our young. We're not gonna use our young players on the city too. Then that's another chaos because you have good talent over there, and if you're not going to use them, I mean, just not using against Austin, we had a bench spot open that we didn't call anybody, and this one we did call Jeskalainen, but just to sit on the bench and only do 3 stops out of the 5 in a game that we're losing. So
hey, McSorley got a red card, so it shows that he has the drive to play hard.
Who did?
McSorley had a red card for City too.
Second yellow, I think it was in the 58th minute. He got it against Rapids too. But I heard that game's officiating was terrible, but I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Oh, the guys were rough. No, both sides. It was a rough game. You could tell that they both team meant business. I enjoyed it, but yes. But so I think just to close out this call, because great conversation. But Jeremy, can you let us know, what you're currently working on? You're doing those great articles now. So
no. So I'm just working on stuff for Lighthouse Media. Just had a recap and kind of some takeaways from the Kansas City debacle, and we'll probably have another look into that before the end of the week, before trying to look ahead to Columbus at the weekend. But you can find me on Twitter, J_Clem. Or JX Clem over on Blue Sky. If you ever want to chat City, I'm all down for it. And again, I really appreciate you guys having me on again. So thanks.
Of course. We'll send you the contract later. Oscar?
Thanks, Jeremy. No, I'll be just trying to regroup and trying to set the best mindset for Sunday, obviously with our group of supporters, and try to bring the party again to City Park, because that's not going to change. I mean, we're going to continue supporting, we're going to continue cheering, and I mean, obviously hoping for the best, but I would say, and I said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again, if a team's not going to perform and it's not going to give us the respect we deserve, you're going to hear it.
All right. There's no follow-up on that one other than thank you all for joining Top Corner Talk, and make sure you like, subscribe if you haven't. Press the like button, and we'll catch you either at Energizer Park on Sunday.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining the chat and staying that late with us. Good questions, good comments. Everything was really fun from everybody that joined us. So we appreciate it. We're appreciated. Feel appreciated when you guys join and ask questions and give your comments. So always fun.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you all. Hope you have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon. Go City.
All right.
Let's go City.
All right, there you go, fellas.